This face, tense with defeat, humiliation, grief, resentment, responsibility, and determination, has haunted me for half my life. Those eyes are watching the last headland of the place of birth, of the ancestors' graves, of a trade, of a whole way of life, vanish forever beneath the horizon. 90% of Canadians are immigrants or of immigrant stock. But the ranks of immigrants divide absolutely between those like me who came out of choice with their eyes on the future and those who had no choice but must flee their homeland. All immigrants carry the baggage of memory, custom, and the indefinable ambience that is place, that is home. And because as a writer I know that words can only express so much, I asked 6 Canadians who left their homelands in fear for their lives or freedom to share with me something that speaks to that ambience, something in their possession that conjured up all they were forced to abandon, an object that speaks out of exile.
I worked for a British organization, Oxfam, doing humanitarian relief, actually helping refugees in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Africa, in South America, Eastern Europe. 12 years working around the world. It was time to go back. And 6 months later, after my daughter was born, my wife's family were targeted by the guerrillas. First killed her brother, then was her father, then her uncle, and then her 2 cousins. I'm talking in a very short period of time all this happened. Well, this was devastated for my wife and for my family. So, but then I got a phone call and I was the next one. So we passed like 8 months running, moving from my friend's house to another place, and then my mom calling me, guys coming to my house asking for me, my neighbors telling me there's a car parked in front. And you know, the situation in Colombia now is that you can't go to the police, you know, so you just have to hide. Why they killed my wife's family? Because the guerrillas wanted land. Land for what?
To grow coca?
To grow coca.
Really?
And this is one of the hardest days of my life. I told my family, well, I'm going to ask for refuge in the Canadian embassy. And my son was standing there and he looked at me crying, I don't want to be a refugee. And I know why, because I took him to refugee camps in Angola. So he thought we were going to live in a tent, not even in a tent, under plastic shelters, like in Angola. He said, I don't want that, I don't want to be a refugee. So then started all, I went to the Canadian embassy and asked for refuge. And this is when I say, you have to be a refugee to know how hard it is. I helped refugees all my life, but during all those 12 years, hearing hundreds of stories, I didn't know how hard it was until I was a refugee. And I'm not saying the fact of being a refugee is hard. The process, you know, running, when you're not able, when you know that you feel impotent to protect your family. That's one of the hardest things as a father. You know that you look at your children and you know that you're not able to protect them. and that you're not able to tell them what will happen tomorrow. The object I chose is an African statue. Well, when I got married, we always had something for Africa. And I gave that statue to my wife. And I told her, carry it wherever we go. We will keep this statue. It's like something representing us. I always remember when I got this phone call, that I told you when they were threatening me, and I told my wife, we have to go. And she said, and the statue. We call him the black man.
Yeah.
So she said, el negro in Spanish, el negro. But we have to take el negro, so
El
the
negro.
black man. Yeah.
Can I see it?
Well, this is el negro. If you carry it, you see.
I hold it?
Yeah, you will see it's very light.
Think what those eyes have seen, George.
Yeah.
But he's a sort of guardian spirit for you.
Yeah, it's like a guardian spirit, but it really represents a lot for us. Everyone knows it's a special object in this house.
I was 15 when I left the country, yeah.
I don't know anything about the future. I just want to get away from...
Yeah, we just want to get out.
From Laos.
Yeah.
Just to get away.
It's hard for me to understand that desperation. Just to get away.
For us, inside, you feel like you're losing a lot of knowledge and freedom.
As a student, you are not allowed to study. You are forced to study whatever they tell you what to do.
Basically, they just a lot of preaching about how communism is good for the country, and it's good that you chase American out of your country.
The regime itself is just a lie. It was a lie too, mostly for us guy at that time to think that that's a heaven, that communist is the only country to go.
As a student, they gather all of us around in front of the school, and then they show us how people would be tortured, and they would wrap him around the wire, and then they carry him around, like around the school, just to let us know, like if any of us would not change our mind about communists, this is what you're gonna pay for, like this. And that's the worst memory that I have.
And they bury him alive. Right?
Yeah, and they bury him alive right in front of us. It still haunts me how he would suffer, and it still carry inside of me, and that's part of it that drive us, like, we better get out of here in our heart, but in front we don't say anything. We just kind of, the tears drop back inside, not outside. You don't show your emotion.
And you don't trust anybody. Right?
No, you don't trust anybody
Even your
around.
your own best friend, your own brother,
even your
sister.
own friend, you don't trust.
That's what the regime, they did things to you against your parents, against your family. They tried, the only person that important is the party, which is the Communist Party.
Was it easy to leave?
No, it wasn't. At that time, my dad escaped to Thailand already, and he sent people that actually doing the transporting. He sent people to come and get us and pay them with substantial amount of money to bring us to,
Illegally.
So when you say transporting, you mean smuggling?
Smuggling people across the border, yes.
Most of my friends, a lot of my friends,
Was killed?
were killed by those people.
Yeah.
They rob you, they kill you.
The smugglers themselves?
Yeah.
Yes. So I swam across the river.
3 days of walking in the rice field and pretend that you're farmers. And then we have to wait at night time to go down to the boat and then cross across the Mekong River, and then hide again in the cave in Thailand for half a day, just to make sure things are calm, and then they transport us through the motorcycle and then to the bus stop. And then from bus stop we go to Thai, like the refugee camp.
At that time I was doing some teaching French for those people who went to France or Belgium or any French-speaking country. That's how I made Lynn. I taught I taught French language.
So
Yeah,
you met in a refugee camp?
yes, we
Yes.
both met in refugee camp.
Yes, yes.
It was about at least 2,000 people live in that tiny little space in the camp there to us, and they said that this opportunity in Canada, if there's a door open for refugee people, if you want to go to Canada, and we decided to, hey, anything just to get out of this hellhole here because
50% I know I die. The other 50% I know I survive, but what, I don't know. That's why every time I always mention Julian, even now, anytime we have some kind of stress or anything that bother us, we always look back at those pictures and thinking, we are way ahead.
Yes.
We are way ahead. So
So
why do we
compare
complain?
now, it's like heaven and, this
Heaven
is
and
heaven.
hell.
So it's not
Yeah.
just the nostalgia, these pictures.
No, it's the thing that always remind us to say, hey, you have good life.
A refugee is a person that normally he have a year or 2 years of a process where they apply to come here. Political asylum is something that is given in a hurry. So the person get out of the country very fast. Normally it's a situation of death or life. So the person had to get out very quickly.
Now, you are not going to talk about, with very good reason, the very complex realities before you left. But I would like you to tell me about that last day. I understand that you were being helped very much by nuns, by sisters.
Yes. When I was in the embassy, the government had to give me a salvo-conduct. It's a document that allowed to go you from the embassy, that is a foreign territory, to Chile, from the embassy to the airport, and that the military, they delayed that quite a lot. So everything was quite Kafkanian almost, like very difficult to understand what's going on, Photograph, they were taking pictures and get out from the car, and we were surrounded by soldiers with machine guns. So the official from the embassy told me not to talk to them, not to just walk into the stair and to the plane. He said, don't do anything else. A young woman, dressed like a sister, like a nun, she was a nun, pushed herself in the middle somehow. I don't know how she showed up, and she gave me a little cotton bag. Just throw it to me almost. And I grabbed it, and the military, they didn't look very happy, but I was already walking into the plane. When I reached the top of the plane, they were the attendants, and they say hello to the three of us, and they say, you can relax. You are a free man. This is Canada. This is Canadian territory. So don't worry about it. Okay, so they walked us into the plane, and there were probably 200 people in the plane or whatever, and everybody started to applaud, to offer to us drinks, and had a drink, and so...
What was in the bag?
It was a pair of shorts, it became quite handy. I was able to change when I came here, and $5.
People talk about the guilt that people sometimes feel when they were fortunate in a horrible political situation about the ones that weren't. Is there any truth in that?
Yes, in part. Even so, you have to kind of realize that it's not your fault. Like you can't live with that all the time in your mind. You have to talk to yourself. You have to question things, and I feel very bad for the ones that they never make it. Right now, 30 years after, we have couple thousand people disappeared that nobody know where they are. So the wife of these people, the children of the people, they're still looking for them. So I think my feeling toward that is sorrow. It's not so much guilty. When I think about them, I feel very sad, you know, and I wish it didn't happen to them. I wish they had the same luck that I had, you know, to come to a place where finally I was free, a place where I can look around and I don't have too much fight to do.
Have you still got that bag?
Yes. And it's something very personal. I know that lots of people, when they come, they bring pictures and souvenirs and little things that they love, you know, and I think that's very nice. In my case, I didn't have the options, or I didn't have nothing. So to me, that reminds me of two things. First, that when I came here, I didn't have nothing in the material sense. So it doesn't matter how good is life, how cocky sometimes we human beings we are. I always look at that little bag and remind me that 30 years ago, this is all my belongings. And the other thing that reminds me is the solidarity of human beings. This woman didn't know me probably. She cared about me or whatever. I don't know the story, her side of the story, but she gave me something to bring, and it's so beautiful, the gesture. So for that reason, I will always keep it, and it will be passed to my children.
In my town, around 300-something people killed. So there wasn't any choice, there wasn't any time to say goodbye or to take my valuable things, to my educational certificate, to say bye mommy, bye daddy, just it's to run. In my hand is just only my tears. I witnessed the terror and the kidnapping from our area, and we could hear. I remember at that time, if we didn't hear a bullet shooting from the revolutionaries, we feel insecure because they are our vanguard, our like guardians. They were protecting us. History of Eritrea is like a chain, the colonization. First is Egypt, Turkey, and then Italians, and then British, and then Federation of Ethiopia, and then completely colonization. So for us, freedom is, we paid the price. It's not an easy. We paid for our identity, the human right. So for me, it's always, I'm proud to be Eritrean.
You're going back in a little while for the first time in how many years?
29.
What's going back going to be like for you, or can you guess?
I am nervous because who I will meet. Emotional. I'm so happy, excited. But going to Eritrea is, I like to go to stand in the place. The 350 people massacred, and they put them in like a square, like a park. And they forced us to people to go out to see them, to enjoy it. And I want to see it, what it look like now. I want to run in a place I finished my high school. I want to smell the neighborhood I grow up, I ran.
You had to leave your home with nothing, you said, except your tears.
Exactly, nothing.
But what have you brought with you that is Eritrea?
As Eritrea, I brought with me is my value, my culture, my language, my skills, my food, my ethnic, my dancing, my music.
Which is the most precious of those, if you could signal one out?
The most is precious for me is my food. And always I say to God, God, until you take my life, please, don't give me any disease to stop me to eat spicy food. I love to eat my spicy food.
Sorry.
When the revolution happened in Iran, I was just 13 years old. People wanted democracy, but it was a time that was very politically charged, I would say. I was in an environment very, very politically charged, very involved. Some families, they never experienced, they stayed out of it, but my family was very involved. So that caused me to be part of the blacklisted. So there was a lot of restriction. We were forced to wear scarves, and we were kind of really a lot of jobs women couldn't do, a lot of educations. We couldn't, even if I was going to go to university. So I decided that I don't want to stay in the country, that I'm not going to have any future. So then we left.
How did you leave?
We escaped to Turkey. We were smuggled to Turkey. I think for me, whenever I think back, I have left Iran about 20 years ago. So I left most of my life outside of Iran. And whenever I think back, I think of the place. Besides, of course, my family and the people that I left. But the place is something that I felt very connected. And I wanted something from there, and the pictures and the videos and anything that kind of was just, I wanted something more, and I haven't been back, so I asked one of my friends to bring me a piece of earth, because I think that's where especially when I make it wet, you know, it's the memories of Iran, the memories of my childhood, my youth comes back. It's something that you kind of, there's a sense of loss, but at the same time, there's a sense of connection, you know, so it's a mixed feeling. There is always a longing for my past, something that I can't put my finger on. The times that you kind of question, did I do the right decision? Did I, you know, what did I lose by leaving where you're originally from? When people leave a place, they somehow have some kind of a strength that leads them. That's how I feel. That's how I feel when I talk with a lot of refugees, that they feel empowered inside in their new place from something that maybe we don't even have an explanation for.
I've done what I've had to do. I've never been so